What is happening in the blockchain industry in the Nordics? The one to ask about that is Jakob Mikkel Hansen from Nordic Blockchain Association. Welcome, Jakob.
Thank you very much, Morten. Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, and you are energized. You are working to build your association. You are have a conference yearly. But what is the mission of Nordic Blockchain Association?
I think from a very high level, like our objective is to educate and share knowledge about the technology, right? That's about ensuring we get a strong ecosystem in the Nordic and connect with the rest of the world. I think that's our mission, that's our vision, that's basically what we have all around the place. But in these time, I think it's really important to emphasize with what's going on. For us, is more than just, let's say, association or ecosystem for companies playing. Like the initial thoughts around blockchain was trust and transparency. We really need trust and transparency in this world we're living in right now, both for companies to operate at a better modus operandus, but as well in society in general. So our mission is really try to advocate that blockchain is an underlying technology, a horizontal technology that can be used in so many different aspects, but is really something that can further trust and transparency, which is really needed. The second one is that we really feel that with this geopolitical situation that's going on right now, the new Nordic need to stay together. Scandinavia need to have cross-border interaction on a totally new level. The Baltic region as well, that's what we kind of define as the new Nordic. So we really see that having a strong tech sector, this goes for other technologies as well, but that's extremely important. In this time we are right now, we need to ensure that capital, talent, and company stays in our region. And as well, we have an easy way for really good regional player to basically go global quite easy. So we see our mission a lot more focused these years is about sharing trust and transparency and make sure we have an extremely strong tech sector in the new Nordic region.
The new Nordic, that's a concept that is interesting. But you are located, the head office is located in Copenhagen, and maybe for some years you have been a little Danish focused. Is that correct to say? But how are you then working now to make it a real inclusive and Nordic association?
I think inclusive is the right word. So when I started out and joined the association 3 or 4 years ago, it was during the pandemic. So the people around the organization or the people that was there was something that was in the close neighborhood. It was, of course, everything is online, but it was quite natural that we was a group here in Copenhagen who basically took the torch and pushed forward with NBA. So we're doing it 2 different steps. The first step for us was to ensure we were having a broad overview of the different regions. So late last year and early this year, we established a board with a representative from each Nordic region. So we got Sandra Gensler from the Baltic region, we got Emily from Sweden, we got Magnus from Norway, and then we as well have people coming in from Finland here and as well in Iceland right now. So our first step was really just to make sure we had really good local voices there so we could understand what's going on. And now the next step is really try to have people on the ground because creating an ecosystem is a lot about meetups, is a lot about doing active stuff. And that's why as well this year we're doing the conference in Stockholm. So we started out like making sure we're represented with board members from all the region. And then next step for the rest of the year and next year is really try to engage and try to do something more than just meetups, like really try to help out and do a difference.
Yes, and we have some similarities regarding culture and the way we look at society and we look at the individual's business and so on. But regarding the definition of the industry, how is that? Because you're called blockchain, and in this space, if we ask people outside of the space, they will think about crypto, and they maybe haven't even heard of Web3. And they are wondering what is the use case of blockchain. So how do you manage all these phrases and words, and what is your position on it?
I think like with all new emerging technologies, there's a lot of new words all the time, right? Like we have Web3, what about Web4? When are we going to have Web5, right? Crypto is for sure something that's going to stay, but for us, we're really focusing on the underlying technology. which is blockchain, ledger technology, and the like cryptography. So for us being a little bit more consistent and saying we are blockchain, right? This year we're going to have something with AI as well, obviously, because that's an emerging technology that have good synergies with blockchain. But we kind of chose to say we want to embrace all the different sub themes or sub words in beneath it, instead of going, which I really like someone are doing, like you got in Norway, you got the Bitcoin Institute, right? You can really focus where you really can do a huge difference just for some specific topic. But for us, we wanted to be the overarching for the industry, and that's why we chose blockchain. And a lot of people over the time ask us why we didn't change to Web3 or something else, but we really see it being something special that you say we stay with blockchain, we stay with cryptography. That's where everything is originated anyway.
And what is the status if you look at the industry in the Nordics? What is the challenges and what are the opportunities?
I'm extremely positive. So I joined the association since, I think 4 years ago. I worked US, I worked abroad. I didn't even know there was anyone doing anything in the Nordic region. Of course, I knew people, but I didn't really thought that people were building something because it was a global market. And what we have seen, I think we have seen two different waves. First of all, we have seen, in my opinion, builder waves. We basically see like a lot of companies right now using blockchain. They don't have the urge to say it out loud and talk a lot about it, but we've seen a lot of people actually doing something in blockchain, established companies as well. So that's a wave and an interest we have seen. And then as well, as we've seen with the help and work at your end with the crypto adoption, we can see consumers are now as well. I would say more people are using it, but I would say more people are actually okay about saying they own in crypto. In Denmark, we had a 50% increase, and I must admit, I don't think it's a 50% increase in new crypto owners. I think some of the numbers and the increase is basically people feeling okay about saying out loud that they're investing into crypto. And for me, that's showing that the acceptance of the technology is now here. People are now okay about saying that they own it and actually try to educate. I think people got tired, at least myself. I didn't mention it for many years that I was working in blockchain because I didn't want to hear about, so is this something where it's just financial gain? And how does that, what is an NFT? Is that just a picture, right? Like, so people, I think, had quite a long period of time where they didn't want to like educate or share the knowledge, but we're really seeing right now that the ecosystem, both the people building, but as well people just investing or being engaged in some kind of capacity, and now a lot more vocal and public about it. So I'm extremely positive. Going back to the challenging part, which I can see as some really positive sign, it's in my opinion is legislation as one. We have seen a lot of positive things going on right now. We have seen regulators and public elected now really wanted to engage and understand the technology and really want to regulate it in, I would say, a positive manner, like an embracing manner, where early on the whole paradigm was towards investor protection, consumer protection. So they rather just want to make some harsh regulations so they could protect consumers. Now they understand it's a technology that's important for the region, and we can't just make, I would say, harsh and not that agile legislation. And we're seeing that now both in Denmark and I know in Sweden and Norway, the legislators and the public government bodies are quite proactive. So I see things are really happening, but that have been one of the issues. Then I think a quite simple and huge issue is if you look into the more established, both again, public agenda, you don't see blockchain in any of these papers, right? They're focusing on new tech. You hear a lot about AI, you hear a lot about fintech or edutech or you name it, right? But I haven't seen any public agenda where blockchain is part of it. And that means when things are dribbling down, if you don't got top management saying that blockchain is important, then it's not that easy to get public funding. It's not that easy to do a lot of things in the industry. So I really think it's important that regulators and larger institutions kind of understand blockchain is important, get that into their strategy, because that would dribble down to the rest of the ecosystem. So I see that as those two main things, and then of course public opinion. But I think that the sentiment is really changing these days. People are understanding it's more than just trading. It's something bigger.
But it still seems that there are some challenges on the political side or on the authority side, what you could call it. And you have, for instance, in Norway, mining is not that popular among politicians. In Sweden, you have a debate about whether you should innovate, more or less. And in Denmark, you have a tax discussion with the authorities. So there are still some uphills there.
For sure, but the key word here, we're having discussions, right? It's not regulators or public authorities sitting down and regulating an industry where they're not in dialogue with industry, right? So the first step, which I feel the most important one, is that we see public-private partnership and dialogues. We host a conference at the Danish Parliament for 132 people. There was only space for 132 people. Everyone showed up, right? And you had people from government bodies, public elected, and that's step number one. So I'm not stating that we have the perfect legislation, we have it on a high level agenda, but the first things always need to start with educating and good dialogue. So I think we're taking those things into consideration. I think we are on the right path. Of course, it would be perfect if we had a really good, innovative, and let's call it tech protection approach towards it, so we could build more stuff, we could do these different things, but we're seeing the first steps, which is private-public association. Like, we're quite involved in a lot of these things that's going on, and we see that as something that wasn't happening a couple of years ago, like just a year ago. I don't think a lot of blockchain-related people, maybe they was part of some kind of hearing, maybe they were brought in a ad hoc basis, but now we see that people from the industry are part of these discussions on a more structured way. So we're not there yet, but I'm really just saying I see a lot of positive signs, because they understand that this is a technology sector we need to keep in the Nordic region.
Of course, there are differences between the different Nordic countries, but it seems like in Denmark, also the industry is starting to picking up some curious interest. I mean, Maersk has some plans, for instance, and there are several other companies that are working on connecting the blockchain and the supply chain, for instance. Is that an important use case?
Without a doubt. I think you can look at AI. They got ChatGPT, right? That like AI in general is extremely complicated technology to a solution, but everyone can understand ChatGPT, right? And I think blockchain had crypto trading, it had NFTs, which the use case only resonate with a very few people, maybe trading with a lot larger, but what we're seeing now, in my opinion, the important part is saying, if you look at Maersk as an example, like they're cross-border document registration at harbors, like there's so much paperwork. People can understand we're creating a digital paper e-bill of lading. It makes it a lot easier. You're going to save a lot of time. You're going to save a lot of cost. Like, that's something that's extremely easy to understand. And I think I want to highlight Patisi as well, who are with their compute and privacy approach can now and have helped out, I think it's 4 different healthcare sectors with sharing data across different government body and institution in a privacy matter. Now you can share data, like the most sensible data that can be shared across multiple partners. That means people can now leverage data without sharing confidential data. And I think like these a little bit more simple use cases to understand, when people are understanding that, I think they really would see the true value of what blockchain can actually do. And that's why, again, that's blockchain. And then you got crypto, then you got Web3, then you got the metaverse. You have all these different aspects, but the underlying technology provides trust and transparency and the opportunity to share data and share value, which should, in its essence, be able to create a lot more value.
So the decentralized mission is in the bottom of everything, and is the connecting everything, then, more or less. What about the law and the regulation in the European market? Because we are in Norway not member of EU, but now even the Norwegian Parliament has decided upon and voted upon, and so MiCA will come Norwegian law in July. And what is the importance of MiCA, both from a Nordic perspective, but also on a European level?
If you take a step back, there could always be approach towards legislation, right? You can have very soft and innovative legislation where you basically are not regulating a lot. That's really good for innovation. But it's bad for a lot of other reasons as well. The EU kind of took the approach, let's have a law. So overall, you can discuss if it's good to have a really extreme, or let's say a detailed law that's regulating something, or you shouldn't have anything. I'm leaning towards it's really good to have clarity and transparency. So what MiCA, in my opinion, are providing is basically clarity on a lot of things that have been unclarity on. Some people think it's maybe too harsh, but I really see this will be able to provide something easy for local governments. Like someone really spent a lot of time on creating MiCA, right? So it's a lot easier on a national level to look at MiCA, look at your own approach towards legislation and adopt it. So I think MiCA, in its essence of creating a European aligned law, is really, really, really important. Like at the end of the day, the Nordic and New Nordic need to stick together, and Europe really need to stick together. So it makes a lot of sense that you have some kind of common law coming down from the European Union.
So what does it mean for the Nordics? Can it make it possible for Nordic companies, blockchain, crypto, Web3 companies to go for a European market with 450 million people? And also, will it be an opportunity for global companies to have a presence more visibly, maybe in the Nordics?
I think this is a unique opportunity. Like if you resonate a little bit about what the Nordic have created just in the general tech sector, is it 9% of all unicorn comes out of the Nordic? We still have the classic issues of founders moving away and creating the company abroad when it really goes well. But nevertheless, we have a really, really good history of creating extremely good tech companies. Stockholm got a crazy track record. That's why we're really happy to be there as well. Like, and now you got clarification on legislation, right? I mean, that this could really be, I would say, a momentum change for the industry because it have clarity now. So having clarity on regulation when you're setting up a company, it's in my opinion, is going to be a business advantage if you want to go global, right? So I think both from the local or regional companies, it makes a ton of sense to get the license and be compliant because it's easy to understand on a global level. But as well, if you really try to nurture and have the conference, have that crypto adoption week or your Bitcoin education last week, I really think we can attract, because the European market on a global aspect is maybe not that large, but it's still a quite important market. And you need to have an office in the European Union. And I see it extremely attractive in general because we got social care, we got a really good work-life balance in the Nordic region. So I think if we take our normal attributes in the tech startup, add MiCA on top of it, I think we got a competitive advantage. We just really need to, it's now, like it's within the next half year or year that governments and startup hubs, accelerators, corporates, CVCs really could have opportunity to say, hey, come to the Nordic region. We got all these good things and we got clarity on regulation. We got sandbox approach. Please open up your office, or not please, but it would be a good idea for you to open up in the Nordic region.
What about the other nearby industries? I mean, the classical finance or traditional finance, they haven't embraced this sector, but maybe there's something happening at the moment. Is it? I mean, is it the convergence or an integration between traditional finance, maybe even fintech and blockchain and crypto?
For sure, I think so. I think it's important as well. Like we've been talking about a long time, that the fintech industry or the financial sector doesn't like the crypto, in specific crypto, right? But I think, like, first of all, they didn't really understand the technology. We weren't good enough to educate on it, to be honest. And then obviously we have been competing against them, right? So a lot of the new exchanges popping up, we got some really, really good and large exchanges originated from the Nordic. We're directly competing with the banks, right? So I think in the early stage of this technology cycle we're in, we didn't really educate them in a good manner. We were basing some kind of capacity competing towards them, especially the younger customer that they had. But now they can kind of see that this is something that's going to stay. So for sure, they need to understand that how it actually work. And I personally have quite a lot of positive meetings with quite large banks and association within the fintech financial sector who want to understand it, because now they know they need to have a product. Like either they can use it in the tech stack, but nevertheless they need to be able to provide the service for their customers to entering into a tokenomic world in some kind of capacity. So I think it's within a couple of years, then I think it's going to be normal that most banks are going to be able to provide it. Like and MiCA clarity and the whole consumer investor protection that's bringing along with MiCA, I think that's going to be the eye opener for the banks. So without a doubt, within the next couple of years.
Is it a situation where they have to think if you can't beat them, you have to join them?
I mean, so the dialogues that we're having, like that I'm having, and we can see in some of the roundtable we have, it's not that competing, to be honest. It's because it's a global and an emerging market, so you don't really need to compete on each other, right? This is basically again for them a new revenue stream, right? So it could, yeah, let's call join it. Maybe I'm just not that everyone is competing, right? I think people are obviously competing, but with new tech, in my opinion, is a lot more you can work together and create a lot more value for your shareholders, right? So I really see it as there's going to be some competing in there, obviously, right? Because exchanges are competing with banks, right? But I see there's going to be a lot of co-partnerships down the road because they understand from a tech and custodianship and off and on ramp, it takes some time to create some really good infrastructure. So I think we're going to see a lot of partnerships where they're basically going to reach out to the industry and say, you already got this set up for the exchange, for the trade. You have already listed some of the tokens. You got your KYC, AML. You have all these different things that we need to check off in a bank. It will take us many years to create it ourselves. So I really hope that we're going to see a lot of partnerships going forward.
Okay, if we wrap up and look maybe 2 or 3 years ahead, where are the industry then, and where are Nordic Blockchain Association then?
I think if we take the industry, I really hope we're going to be something like cloud, right? Like I kind of like people, I understand the principle about cloud and what it actually does, but I mean, I just know I just need it, right? Cloud need to be built in some kind of capacity in my company's IT infrastructure, right? So I think we'll be in a position where people understand blockchain and it's just one of these things in there. And I think you're going to see it in so many different places. And it's not going to be us and them. It's not going to be beat them or join them. It's more going to be this is just a emerging or established sector that's really important for the region. So I'm quite positive towards that blockchain is going to be, let's call it mainstream. Maybe not AI mainstream or maybe not that hype mainstream, but just something that you really need to think about trust and transparency in your IT stack. So blockchain is obviously just going to be a part of it. In regards of NBA, where we're heading and what I really hope for and why we are working 24/7 is that I hope we really would be New Nordic, not just with board members and pop-up events, but we would be a real association helping out the industry in each different country on a lot more practical level as well. Like in Denmark, we can engage with regulators, we can engage with public elected, which really help. We want to be able to do that there as well. And then we really see it as a more like some of the other established association, right? We can help with practical stuff like insurance, bank account. Like I really hope we're just another brancheorganisation out there because we need it. It's going to be there. And now we've been here for 8 years and there is a good persistency. We had hundreds of volunteers throughout the years and I really see that it's needed. So I really just hope like we'll be able to be a lot more on ground and be able to help with hand-on things and not just, we had 7 meetups and conferences just in May, which is amazing. But I really think like sitting down and helping things on a practical level. And then like really add on, I really think there's a lot of similarity in the Nordic region. So I really hope this cross-border learning. So we don't got someone really working on mining in Norway or MiCA implementation in Sweden, Denmark tax. I really hope we have a Nordic partnership, which is both from an ecosystem, but as well from a regulatory perspective. Blockchain should for sure be part of some of the Nordic public working groups, without a doubt.
Thank you, Jakob, and we look forward to the 10 years Jubilee interview with you in a couple of years. So thank you very much then, Jakob.
Thank you very much, Bonne. Thank you very much for sharing knowledge about the industry. It's really important.